Awake, Free, and Ready community. Awaken your soul, free your mind, and get ready for what's next.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
Yes, it can feel like you are definitely tumbling down the rabbit hole. And I know many of you have explored many of them. Some of them are absolutely huge. Some of them are horrific. And it can make you feel like you are indeed Alice in Wonderland. And myself, I have gone down several rabbit holes. And today I want to explore one such rabbit hole.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And this rabbit hole is about our stolen history. That's right. When I started discovering what was going on, it blew my mind. Now, this is just scratching the surface. I want to share with you 4 images. Each one of these represents a city. Where do you think these cities are? Look at the architecture. They look Phoenician in design. Now, each one of these images is from the late 1800s and early 1900s. Yeah, these are incredible structures. Look at the detail. Look how ornate they are. The level of craftsmanship that went into these structures. Incredibly beautiful in every way. Now, these aren't from some distant continent in the past. This is Buffalo, this is Chicago, San Francisco, and St. Louis. That's right, these are cities in North America. Look again at the architecture. Look how detailed they are. Now, we're told that these represent the structures of the world's fairs in each one of these cities. But let's first look at Chicago. Look at the size of these structures. Look at the domes, the antiquitech on these structures. It's incredible how much artistry and craftsmanship went into these structures. They're gargantuan. They are incredibly beautiful, far superior to any structures in the late 1800s. Look closely at the fountain work. Look at the detail. Now remember, we're in the age of the horse and buggy. That's right, the age of the horse and buggy. No pneumatic power tools, no cranes, just hard labor. And we're told that they created this structure or these structures. Now, who really created them? All the labor in Chicago at this time? These are the artisans and craftsmen that we're told that made these structures. The immigrants trying to make their way through life. And look at the architecture around them and the squalor in which they live. But they built this. That's right. Now, in 1871, Chicago had a devastating fire. This fire destroyed the entire city. It reduced the entire city to ashes. But there's the horse and the buggy. And for as far as the eye can see, the city is destroyed. They rebuilt the city, but there was so much squalor and disease and poverty. But within just a few short years later, they were able to build this. How do you make this from the ashes of this in just a few short years? Now remember, we're in the age of the horse and buggy. And this is the architectural style of the era. But for some reason, we have this. My friends, I am telling you that these structures were here before. And what I mean by that is that these are not temporary structures. They did not put the effort into creating these for just a 9-month period. What I'm attempting to tell you is that these were here before. We inherited them. That's right. Look again at the detail. We're told that these are just temporary structures erected within 2 years, only to be torn down. In fact, there's no evidence of their existence except in photos. My friends, this was here before. We didn't have the wherewithal to build something of this grandeur in that time frame. Let's look over at San Francisco. The year is 1849. That's right, the 49ers. We're in the age of the gold rush, and this is the architectural style of that time frame. Now here's an artist rendering of 1849. Notice that the harbor is yet to be built out. Here's an actual photo of 1849. Yep, there's the familiar architecture of the time. Notice the homes are barely up the hill. Again, this is 1849. Now, fast forward, this is 1870. Notice the harbor has yet to be built out yet. Look at the mud in the streets and the simple architecture that is being used. Now, what's crazy is this next image. Now, you might think, well, this looks like it's in the 1920s or perhaps the 1930s. But this is a panorama of San Francisco in 1877. Look at how big this city is. It goes on and on and on. This is a city of hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people. Look how structured it is. Look at the buildings. We are told that they had the capability of going to this level from this within just 7 years. Again, take a close look at this photo of 1870. And then all of a sudden, boom, this is what San Francisco looks like in just 7 years. So let's focus in on some of the bigger structures. I want to draw your attention towards the churches. Look at the size of these structures. You're telling me that they're able to build these structures within 7 years? Do you see any scaffold work? Do you see any cranes? Remember, we're in the age of the horse and buggy. But I want to draw your attention to something startling. Look at the streets. There's nobody there. In fact, in this entire photo, there's not a single soul. Let's zoom in on a main street by this church. Look at that street. There's nobody there. Let's look at a residential street. Here's a high-end neighborhood with these incredible mansions. There's nobody here. Well, there's a horse and buggy. And another horse and buggy in the distance. But there's nobody here. This is incredible. Look at the size of this city, this neighborhood, and there's no one here. Now you might think, well, Dwayne, it's the wrong time of day. Maybe it's early. No one's around. Let's look at this post and the shadow. Notice how short the shadow is. This is not early in the day. This is not late in the afternoon or evening. This is the daytime, high noon, maybe 10 or 11 o'clock in the a.m. But there's nobody here. Look at the shadow. There's no one here. This entire city, look all the way down that street to the harbor. There's no one on the streets. Now, there's some smoke or steam coming from the stacks. So someone's keeping the lights on. But there's no one here. No horses, no buggies, no women with their parasols. Oh, there's another horse and buggy. And there's no men in their top hats. There's no children. There's no one's anywhere. Well, maybe they were at a special event. Or maybe no one's here. Now we fast forward. This is 1906, just after the earthquake and the devastating fire that took out San Francisco. Look at the devastation. Every home is completely obliterated, not just burnt down, but removed from the map. This was how devastating the alleged earthquake and fire was. So they were able to rebuild San Francisco. They were able to create something incredible from the ashes. Yeah, here we have one of the most beautiful structures ever created by man. And we're told it's just temporary. That's right. This is part of the San Francisco World's Fair. So they were able to go from this to this in just a few short years. That's right. Look at the grandeur. Look at the familiar architectural style. Very Phoenician. This building is incredibly beautiful. But look at the age of the structure. And we're told this is temporary, just slapped up in a few short years, only to be torn down months later. Look at the spectacle that they were able to create. Again, from the ashes in just a few short years. And these are the people that did it. Remember the level of education that most of the people had. They were able to create these structures. My friends, I'm only putting out the idea that all is not as it seems. Do your own due diligence. Our past is not what we've been told. There is so much more to this incredibly fascinating realm of reality in which we reside.
You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.